Do you know why there are so many problems related to the birth rate in most countries around the world nowadays? Such as China's birth rate plunges to its lowest in 4 decades. More Americans say they're not planning to have a child, so it can affect the decline in the number of children born in America in recent years. And for the first time ever, India's fertility rate is below its replacement level. Do you think that this is all just a coincidence? No, it is not. I'm Azizah Anggun Oktaviani, and I will discuss an issue that has been being a hot topic lately. It is about Childfree. So, what is actually the meaning of Childfree? Childfree means not wanting any children and having no desire to take on the burden of parenthood. Childfree is also known as childfree by choice. Around 50.1% of women in the world until this year have decided to be childfree by choice in their 30s. Because of that, the birth rate in the world has decreased over time. For example, in 1950, the fertility rate was 4.7, which means that an average woman has more than 4 children in her lifetime. Entering 2021, the birth rate fell into 2.67, which means that an average woman has only 2 children in her lifetime. By prediction, in 2100, an average woman will only have 1 child in her lifetime with a birth rate of 1.7. Of course, they have so many reasons for not having any intentions to have children. So we have to discuss it one by one instead of judging and scolding at them for being child-free. But disclaimer, I'm neutral here, so I will not take any sides, so I'll try to explain to you about the reasons, the religion's perspective, and also the consequences toward child-free. The reasons are like, they take much attention to climate change, or they think that it will be very expensive to raise children in this era, or she has a traumatic sense of trauma from her childhood, or simply because they feel uncertain about their future. All of these reasons make sense, right? But let's discuss it first. If we talk about climate change, usually people will look at someone who has the opinion about it is only looking for justification for what they are doing. In fact, if you understand further, climate change is a significant change to climate, air temperature, and rainfall that occurs because the concentration of carbon dioxide gas and other gases in the atmosphere increases and causes the greenhouse gas effect. The increase in greenhouse gas concentrations is caused by various human activities such as emissions of fossil fuels, changes in land use, waste, and industrial activities. People who use this reason for not having children usually will say that they want to save this planet, aka our Earth. So, they think the fewer children they have, the better for the Earth. Now, we talk about the high cost of living incurred to take care of children nowadays, which I think most parents will agree with this one because that's exactly the reality. Move to the next reason. It relates with someone's traumatic past that must be very hard to forget, so that we as people around them must respect their choice. Many people who choose not to have children often give their words like, "my body, my choice." But is childfree by choice allowed in religions? Now, I will try to discuss about the perspective of being childfree according to Islam and Christian. In Islam, one of the reasons of Allah made a marriage is to reproduce, to have children. And most people choose to get married in order to have a great and cute children who can pray for their parents when they are gone someday. But in Islam, it is certainly permissible if someone chooses to delay having children for legitimate reasons, whether temporarily or long-term. For the temporary, we can look at the example of one getting married, but both of them are in the university. So they say, look, for the next 4 years, they're not going to have children because they want to finish their undergraduate studies. And for the long term, we can look at the example. If they are living in difficult circumstances, let's say when a couple gets married, both of them are journalists and they are stationed in particularly Islamophobic part of Russia, and they say like, right now we can raise children over here. So they can choose not to have children, and that is all permissible. But if a couple doesn't want to have children due to unreasonable reasons, just like maybe they think, what if I lose my job? What if this? What if that? This is not permissible at all. Because it means that they don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't put their trust in Allah, and we all know that in the Al-Quran said that Allah has commanded us to trust in Him. A similar thing was also expressed by a Christian religious leader. He said that in the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 28 says that, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it." Thus, Christian teaching is also encouraged for married humans to reproduce and have children. Back again with the first reason about climate change. He said that if one of the problems right now is when people choose to not have children because they take much attention to climate change, the problem is we simply don't know whether our child will be a debit or a credit to human race, a curse or a blessing, a taker or a giver. He may be a freeloader with a big carbon footprint, or he may be a genius who invents the very meanings of saving millions of lives. We can just arbitrarily predict that our children will be a loss rather than a gain for the world. I'm also a woman. When many people say that if a woman is a selfish person if she doesn't have children, I used to feel annoyed and upset. However, if the child-free movement is continued and followed by many people, it will have consequences for human life in the future. Just like the lesser the number of babies, the lesser the number of people joining workforce, the lesser the output, the GDP and economic growth for some countries. Just like Japan, due to its birth rate which decreased every year, estimates say that by 2060, 4 out of 10 people in Japan will be aged 65 or above. So it means that the productivity of a country is getting weaker and will cause a decline in the country's economy. Then, if we look from a psychological perspective, child-free decisions can also cause some problems in marriage. The lonely factor that may occur in the future can trigger prolonged conflict with your partner. If not addressed, divorce could have occurred. So, that is all of the explanation about the reasons of people being child-free, the perspective of some religions, which is the Islam and Christian perspective toward child-free, and also the scary consequences which might happen in the future. The choice is in your hand, but just remember that the world doesn't only revolve around us, so we also need to think about the future for the sustainability of living things on Earth. Don't be a selfish people. We all need each other to survive, and don't forget to cherish every choice that has chosen by some people. Hope you can gain some new insight. Thank you and peace out.